What's good? I am I am here to record another video. Oh, doing these. Those are fun. Now let's continue the story. So this shadowy figure opens the door to reveal to be just hands, drumroll, Hawks, and of course Garou. Garou then immediately just throws one of the knives he pulled out of him to Hawks. Hawks catches it and then flies back and tells him, ask him for a deal. This deal being, become a sponsored vigilante and I'll just let you go. And then, and then, and then, Bark and Hawks, and Deku just says, no. And then he just appears behind Hawks, tries to slap him, but he gets all of his hands from him. Because, Hawks is really fast. So then Hawks flies into the air and just starts cutting up Deku, which, yeah, he's able to regenerate. He's fine. He's back to his full strength, but he can't get Hawks. And then Hawks grabs all the feathers out of the sky and tears them in half. The ones that have been cutting him, of course, Hawks still has a whole bunch. Eventually, and then the Hawks just keeps fucking with Deku. Deku's getting cut all over the place. He can't do anything, honestly. The guy's flying in the air and he's getting cut all over the place. This isn't fair. So Deku then just... And then Deku slams the rock, the ground, shooting a boulder upwards, and they're just immediately yucking it at Hawks. So Hawks has to immediately use all the feathers that were attacking Deku to block the boulder, and Deku he just sprints. He has to sprint or he's gonna get killed. And then he hits. Then he starts breathing in and out, exhausted from how much running he did. By the way, he's across the whole city now. And then these two mutants show up that are part of the League of Villains. If you're wondering why the mutants... And then these two villains has two blades in his hands, and the other one's just a massive beetle. But what happens to the said beetle? What happens to the said beetle? Beetle? Oh, what happens to the said beetle? Deku blizzes it and breaks its ears with his fingers, and then the beetle stops hearing. So the beetle tries to swing at Deku. Deku weaves it, grabs his arm, breaks it off, and shoves it into the guy's gut. Yeah, he immediately just killed the beetle guy, but the scissors guy, yeah, he starts bodying Deku, just stabs him in the gut, starts freaking slashing all over him, and then Deku gets his ear cut off, not off, but just a chunk, a bit of it off. A finger almost cut off, and then it just keeps getting cut all over the place. Organs now ripped open, and then Garou, the hunter killer, the hero killer, gets just falls over dead, down, not dead, down, until Coda shows up, still on his vacation with his grandma, Then then the scissors guy tries to kill Koda, but Deku catches his arm with just his finger, reflecting it, and then we see Garou, um, both his eyes being black and his pupils being red, with a hint of yellow in him, and then his hair is more slick back, like a wolf in fight mode, I guess, in defense mode, like that. And then Garou's pants, Deku's pants, kind of look like they fused to his body and are his body now. But actually, if the guy tries to go for Deku's legs, but actually it shadows his blade because they're actually armor on his body. And then the guy's blade being broken, which is basically his hand, it starts bleeding, and then Deku just immediately hits him with the the rapid rapids of the rock smashing fist. These are the rapids, and yeah, Deku just completely, absolutely, bodies the scissors guy, punches his hand straight through him, grabbing his with the Omni Man to the Green Lady face thing, killing it. Him. And then Deku looks behind him, seeing Koda, not scared, but more concerned for Deku being all cut up and bleeding. So Koda brings him to his grandma's house. His grandma just accepts the guy in because she's just that wholesome. And she does know that he's not a bad guy. And then Deku just sits on the couch, healing, and passes out. Then he's brewing in his power until, yeah, Endeavor shows up at her house, not even expressing a warning, just walks past the grandma, and grandma tries hitting him, but Endeavor just burns her stick. But she has to put it out and stuff. And then Endeavor sees Deku sitting there. Then he starts forming a fire spear until Deku wakes back up, and then punching Endeavor straight through the doorway. Luckily, the grandma was out of the way trying to put out her cane, and she does put out her cane because Koda shows up and uses his quirk. Good job, Koda. She was out of the way, by the way. That's all I'm saying. And then they see a figure just jump right through the doorway, and Deku chasing after it. Yeah, it's now Endeavor versus Deku, but Deku has more armor on him. It's now all around his arms and shoulders. It's basically hips, arms. That's all shielded. And then Endeavor hits him with the spear that he's had in his hand, but Deku just ricochets it and slams it into the ground. And then he's just in this stance, waiting for Endeavor to do another thing. So Endeavor just starts throwing fire attacks, but Deku just keeps ricocheting them away from him. Until Endeavor tries to hit him with a mean one, but Deku finally actually gets a hit in. By the way, his hands are all on fire. And then just clips Endeavor with a punch, which almost completely makes Endeavor cough out spit all over the place. Deku weaves the spit, grabs him by his arm, kicking him in the face, and spinning him on his ass. But Endeavor hits him with a flaming ball of power, burning Deku almost completely. And then Deku finally is starting to unlock a new form. But it's not there yet. So Endeavor then just starts blitzing Deku because he's finally using more than just basic attacks now. He's actually using fast attacks. Deku can't react to them, so he's just getting pummeled around. He got punched in the air, just rapid attack. Almost Endeavor tried to get a prominence burn on Deku, but Deku dodges it. Luckily. This is barely, by the way. Like, he still gets charred on the back. Ah. And then Deku's like screaming in pain, coughing out white stuff. It's dead. And then Deku just picks up a piece of a massive piece of ground, which is basically bigger than a boulder. Basically, a hill. Deku just threw a hill size thing. And then Endeavor has to punch it and keep pushing fire into it until it explodes. But Deku uses that as a distraction to kick Endeavor in the face until Endeavor grabs his foot and spins him in the air and then just completely chucks Deku. And then Deku just keeps skipping across the ground. And then Deku's almost out, but he's holding on there until a couple heroes show up and start pummeling Deku. But Deku finally, it clicks. Then he screams in fury, and his body completely and utterly changes to a demon. He's finally in his monstrous state, and so he just smashes all their organs in with single pokes, and they all just die. And then Endeavor hits him, then gets Deku this time with a prominence burn, like full on, right to the face, like in Shigaraki and the Hayanomu type, in the face. And then Deku grabs Endeavor by the face, breaks his jaw before Endeavor burns Deku's hand until he has to let go, or he'll lose it, and he doesn't want to lose his hand. So Endeavor can just run away. But Deku is trying to get to Endeavor, but Endeavor's faster than Deku, so it's kind of really hard to get him. Until Hawks shows up, and then just tries to get Deku, but Deku immediately blitzes behind Hawks, hit him with a rock smashing fist. Oh yeah, and then just bodies Hawks. Hawks almost out of the fight, except he's like almost out to the point where he can't walk. And then Deku just stomps his foot into his heel, and knocking out Hawks. Until Endeavor turns around, saying what a sissy is, and then he grabs onto Deku again, putting his hand onto Deku, and then just burning into Deku's chest, cracking some of the shit, just barely cracking it. But Deku grabs his hand, breaking it, and then Endeavor hits him with two clocks to the face. 1, 2, and then Deku goes flying by the second one until Hawks gets back up from being unconscious for almost like a couple seconds by like 1 minute, and then Hawks immediately boosts Endeavor's flames, so Endeavor just starts blitzing Deku, and obviously Deku is losing until the feathers run out, and Hawks passes back out, and Endeavor tries to hit Deku with a kick. Deku catches this foot, pulls in Endeavor, freaking hits him with a clothesline, spinning Endeavor in the air until Deku jumps at him, but Deku's hands get grabbed, and surprise, it's All Might. And then All Might headbutts Deku, hitting him straight to the ground, almost breaking his entire spine. And then All Might tries to hit Deku, but Deku dodges out the way. Then he uses rubble. Then he throws Then he throws a, a building. Yeah, Deku just gets hit into a building, picks up the said building, throws it at Endeavor. Luckily, everyone evacuated before the battle began, so no one's in there. So Endeavor just destroys it with one punch, and Deku says, "Oh, I'm fine." And then, before I finish the sentence, All Might grabs his mouth and crushes him into the ground, shattering his face. So basically, like in the manga where he one of his eyes gets open. So yeah, Deku's getting Deku's just getting bodied. He's just getting thrown around. Deku tries to escape, but All Might just keeps catching back up to him and kicking him in the gut. They're flying all over the city, by the way, until All Might starts spewing a tiny amount of blood from his mouth until Deku finally sees that All Might is mostly blocking his midsection. So Deku immediately forces All Might. He throws a building at him, then runs down that building, then immediately jumping down from the building, sneakily, by the way. So All Might hits the thing with a cool little smash, but Deku then immediately hits him in the midsection, immediately taking out All Might's power. So All Might's out of his buff form. Don't worry, he already destroyed the building, but he just gets flinged into a car. Luckily, the form stayed enough so All Might didn't have to get hit that with a CD form. So Deku just assumes All Might run away with a smoke bomb and replaced him with a civilian, with a dummy. So All Might's they sent in a dummy for All Might so Deku would get scared. But obviously the hero hunter wouldn't get scared of this, so he just assumed he was a fake, telling it the hero. He tells the hero that good job on distracting me. I'll be right back. And then Deku runs away and doesn't come back. He didn't go for Endeavor or anyone. He just ran away because he immediately starts coughing out yields of blood and then just slams into a mountain, destroying the mountain. He actually makes a straight hole into it and then just sleeps in that said hole because he's exhausted and he needs some recuperation time. All Might being very lucky at this point that he thought he was a copy and didn't kill him. The reason why is because Deku was heavily damaged in this battle. So All Might gets out of the rubbish and then runs into a corner to puts his costume in his back pocket and then runs away from the scene of the crime of Deku. But anyways, All Might thinks, how did he figure that out so quickly? Okay, that's what I'm going to leave things for right now. Like, subscribe, hit the post notification bell. Just wanted to pop a video out for... Luckily, one of the harder assignments I had to do is done, so I think I can post better now. Okay, bye. Has to wait 2 more